Okay, day two of the Six Sweden Major is in the books. Let's talk about what happened today. So in Group A, as you can see here, Rogue has qualified for the playoffs and Oxygen has been eliminated from the playoffs. This is only the case with two other teams, one other elimination and one other qualification, and we'll get there in a little bit. But as you can see, Rogue has not lost a game. They won 2 games in regulation and 2 games in overtime, and I think this shocked a lot of people. They were coming in as the 4th seed from Europe, so of course the lowest seed from Europe, and a team that in the past had massive struggles on LAN. It's a different team, pretty significantly than last they played LAN, which was quite a while ago, but still some of the same players, same orgs, same staff, I'm assuming to some extent. But yeah, no, they've shocked everybody, and the shocks really began, I think, today when they took down FaZe Clan, who had not yet dropped a round. They beat them 7-5, and I talked about some of this earlier because I did a midday thing, but at the end of the day, yeah, you could see that Rogue defeated FaZe 7-5, and they also beat Chiefs and Oxygen both on day 1 in overtime. So a little bit shaky of a performance because, FaZe 7-0'd both of them, and it took 15 and 14 rounds for Rogue to defeat these two teams, but then they beat FaZe, so what can you say about it? And then also in their other game, what happened? Rogue a 7-1 Chiefs, so they went from going to round 15 with Chiefs to beating them 7-1. So Rogue was just a little bit shaky on day 1, and then they were incredible on day 2, and they have been rewarded with a playoff spot. So FaZe is likely to get the other spot, but it's still possible for Chiefs to get it. So FaZe, of course, 7-0 Chiefs, and where is it? They haven't played their other game, I guess. So that'll be one of the 2 games that FaZe plays tomorrow and one of the 2 games that Chiefs plays tomorrow. So the only way that Chiefs is going to make it is if they pass FaZe in points, realistically. I guess they could go to 9 points, and they could if they also 7-0 FaZe back, and then it would come down to like round counts or something. So I guess they'd go down to +10, -2, and it's just, I don't think actually they can get a good enough round differential at that point. So I think the only way Chiefs can feasibly make it is if they win both their games tomorrow in regulation and FaZe don't get a single point. So at no point FaZe can get 6 points on the board in either of their games, or they will qualify. So yeah, we can assume that Rogue and FaZe will qualify from those groups, but I suppose Chiefs could make a miracle run, and for this reason, I'm just gonna I'll just keep up the heroes and villains thing. But Chiefs are now the hero, looking to take down FaZe Clan, the villains. It's simple as that. And then, Rogue and Oxygen, since they've already qualified and been disqualified, then it doesn't really matter too much. You can just put them in a neutral camp for now, and we'll reestablish all of the heroes and villains in the playoffs, I suppose. Okay, so moving on to Group B, Team 1, and then Sandbox, then Vitality, then Dark Zero. So Sandbox and Vitality, I think they were both 1-1 after the first day, right? They both lost to Team 1, is that right? Or no, they so on the first day of Vitality, where were their first day games? They lost to Sandbox and they beat Dark Zero, and Sandbox lost to Team 1 and beat Dark Zero. And then now they've played everyone in the group, so both of them have played the other 3 members of the group, but then also played, who did they play for this last day? Sandbox played Team 1 again, and Team 1 won again, and then Vitality played Dark Zero again, right, on the 9th. And yeah, but they got popped by Dark Zero. So I was sort of counting Dark Zero out, but they sort of destroyed Vitality. And now keep in mind, they started on the attack. I believe that was a Chalet game, attacked half of Chalet. So of course they deserve to lose if the Vitality deserves to lose if their opponents get to 7, but the score might not have been so dominant if Dark Zero had started on defense. Like, surely Vitality would have racked up a lot more rounds if they started on attack, and then it would have been closer. And then also going down 5-1, which I believe was the score, it definitely hurts your mental a little bit. Even if you know you can do it back, and it's and you were on the unfavored side, it still got to hurt the mental a little bit, because 5-1 is a bit daunting. 4-2 is like, it's solid for the attackers to get, but 5-1, it feels pretty bad to be on the receiving side of that, the defending side in that case. So right, Dark Zero still have a chance, and anyone in this group can still qualify, but it's kind of difficult for Dark Zero, and it's very likely for Team 1 with Sandbox and Vitality. So, I mean, it's probably Team 1 and then either Sandbox or Vitality, but still Dark Zero could get in there. I'm unsure if I don't really want to do the calculation, if it can be Dark Zero and not Team 1, not sure. But I guess Sandbox also have the head-to-head over Vitality. Is this how this works? Okay, so Vitality versus Sandbox. Yeah. So, but I guess they still need to play their final game, right? Yeah. So, I guess who did I say? Yeah. So if Vitality can beat Sandbox 7-2 or 7-1 or 7-0, they'll have the head-to-head against them. But otherwise, yeah, Sandbox who has the head-to-head, which is pretty good considering there are only 2 more games for them each to play, and they're on the same number of points. So we'll see what happens there. I'm still rooting for Dark Zero here, which I said yesterday I was rooting for Vitality, but that was sort of when I was assuming Dark Zero was going to get nothing done. But they looked better today, even though they did take a loss to, which was their first game. They played, they lost to Sandbox, but then they beat Vitality pretty badly. So, yeah, we'll see what happens in this group. And again, anyone can qualify, but not any combination. So we'll see. I don't think. We'll see what happens. Okay, Group C. Ninjas in Pajamas is the other team that has qualified for the playoffs, and Invictus, the other team that has been eliminated. And you'll notice that the only teams that have qualified are Ninjas in Pajamas and Rogue. They're the only teams that have not lost a game yet. Rogue had to go to overtime twice, but they did not lose. And then Ninjas in Pajamas, 4 regulation wins. They are looking back in killer form. Their first game on the first day was a little bit shaky. Like they 7-5 versus Invictus, still won in regulation, but took all 12 rounds of regulation to do so. And then they just looked pretty good from there. So they beat down Sonics pretty hard, and then decisive 7-4 against BDS. And then their other game they played Invictus again, right? And just a 7-3. So we'll see what happens for them going forward, but they don't have much to play for. So I mean, the rest of their groups don't matter too much to them, I can't imagine. I suppose they can still lose first seed to BDS, but again, locked in, so not too much to worry about there. So it comes down to BDS or Sonics for the other spot, and you'll notice, I mean, 8 points to 4 points, and each team only has 6 points left available to them, so Sonics can only get up to 10, BDS can get up to 14. But it is still possible. Sonics almost got eliminated today. It came down to 1 round. So, I mean, let's talk about the Sonics BDS game. They played on Coastline, and I thought that was a good omen for Sonics. They've had an interesting history on the map, especially in Stage 3 of the NAL. They beat Space Station on it, but then they lost it to XSET like the next week, and maybe did they play it one more? They might have played it one more time. I think against Auction and lost it, if I remember right. But okay, they beat the best team in North America on the map. So I think sort of their reasoning was, all right, let's pull out the Coastline. Like it might be a bit of a gamble, but they got to do something if they want to beat BDS, because BDS, they played against BDS at Mexico, and they were in their group, and they didn't beat them there. They lost to them twice in regulation, and now they lost to them in regulation on day 1 pretty badly, 7-2 on. It wasn't Coastline. I don't remember which map it was though. But right, so they thought let's pull out the ace in our sleeve, and they went to Coastline. And honestly, I mean, it looked like probably Sonic should have won this game. There was certainly one round where Kansan got a bit overzealous, so he got a 4K, putting his team into a 3v1, and then he rushed forward. He was playing on Sledge, and remember that Sledge no longer has the SMG-11. He just has the pistol now. So he got some number of kills with his rifle, had to switch to his pistol, got a kill with his pistol, but then charged forward with, I don't even know how many bullets were in his pistol, tried to get the last kill. I mean, just the blood was pumping, and maybe there was a reason to do it. Like he thought that it was Bride was the other player there, the smoke from BDS, was about to make a play on the planter or something, but it just looked like he was trying to get the ace, and he thought, oh, it's a 3v1, if I die, whatever, one of my teammates will refrag me. It sort of cost his team because he died, and then right as he died, Bride got a gas kill with his smoke canister on like Super or somebody, and then he just won the subsequent 1v1 with maybe Yeti. So a bit of a throw that round, and then there were 1 or 2 other rounds that it looked like probably Sonics could have won, and then also 1 round where it looked like Sonics should not have won, where Rexon got a big 3K at the end of the round to cover the plant and just eliminate the rest of the enemy team. pretty poor game from Rexon, I think, overall. Or at least relative to his teammates, he was the lowest on the team, and he did have that big play in that game. But besides that, I want to say he went like 8-11, and got outrated, I guess, at least by the rest of his teammates. But luckily for Sonics, they did push it to overtime. If they had gone to, or if they had lost 7-5, and it did come down to, if I remember right, it was 6-5 BDS, and then Sonics won. I think it was the Rexon clutch that took him to overtime. So of course Sonics would have one fewer point, and BDS would have one more point, so 9-3, and then BDS would just straight up have the head-to-head over Sonics, which they do anyways. But so even if Sonic got up to 9 points and BDS stayed on 9 points, the head-to-head tiebreaker would have been in the favor of BDS, so they would have had it. But this keeps the hopes for Sonics alive. So it's even a little bit closer than the case up here. This is 4 points to 9 points. This is 4 points to 8 points. So, okay, if Sonics can get 6 points and BDS gets 0 or 1 point, then Sonics will qualify for playoffs. Or if Sonics get 5 points and BDS gets 0 points. So two possible ways it can go down, but the power is not in their hands. They don't even play each other again because they've already played each other twice. So Sonics have to hope that BDS, in 2 games that are not even against them, do not get 2 points, and hopefully they don't even get 1 point. But it seems exceedingly unlikely that Sonics will be able to qualify just on the metric that BDS gets to play against Invictus again, who have not won a game, who have already lost to BDS. And, maybe BDS does lose to NiP again. Maybe they lose in regulation again. But Invictus also has to beat BDS. So it seems unlikely, but it's possible. Invictus, although 0-4, I mean, they maybe don't look as weak as people anticipated them to, with Gig having to sub in for Hysteric, because Gig, he even like top fragged, I think, in their last game, but he's been playing pretty well, all things considered. So it's very unlikely, but Sonics could still make it into the playoffs, but more than likely it's going to be NiP and BDS, in which case my prediction will be correct. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned for this group, I did originally, my prediction was Team 1 and Dark Zero, so I'm especially hoping for the Dark Zero miracle run so that I can get my prediction correct. But okay, let's talk about Group D. Group D, the group of death, continues to be the group of death. The points are pretty close. Of course, Furia is pretty low down here, but 8, 8, and 6 is a pretty tight affair at the moment. Daemon still in first place, but on the same number of points as Daemon is Space Station. It's just the fact that Daemon has the head-to-head over Space Station, but Space Station can get the head-to-head back if they just defeat Daemon. At any score line that's not an 8-7. So if Space Station win their game and it's any scoreline besides 8-7, then the head-to-head will go to Space Station rather than Daemon. So that's promising in that regard. Right, Space Station got another win and another loss, and it was another 7-8 loss and another 7-5 win. They exactly mirrored what happened at Mexico Major in regards to Furia. So when they played Furia at the Mexico Major, they lost 7-8. That was on Coastline. And then the second game that they played against Furia, they went 7-5 against them. That was on Cafe. And then here at the Sweden Major, they lost 7-8 to Furia on Cafe, and then they played them again and they beat them 7-5, also on Cafe. So 3 Cafe games, and between Sweden and Mexico, perfectly mirrored except for the maps, I guess. But okay, it's looking quite grim for Furia on 6 points, and the only way that they can make it into the top 2 is if they jump out of 2 teams. So they have to get above Empire, and then also Daemon, because they cannot get above Space Station, and because they've already played both games against them, and Space Station has the head-to-head. I'm assuming that head-to-head is the most important factor. I'm not sure what it breaks down, because I guess the 3 tie-breaking metrics would be head-to-head against another team, and then the win percentage, because if you're in terms of record, most of the time if you're on the same points, it's because you have the same record, but it's possible that because of the overtime thing that you won't be on the same. So I think it's win percentage next, or maybe win percentage is first and then third, round differential. I believe it's in that order, but the first 2 could be switched, not sure. Anyways, so for Furia to make it into playoffs, they have to get the full 6 points, and that is against Daemon and Empire, and they need Daemon to get no more points. And so Daemon needs to lose to Empire and Furia. And then also Empire has to... Can they get onto 8 points? Okay, it depends on the score between the 2, because Empire beat Furia the first time. So also... Okay, there's too many factors, I think, to describe here, because it also depends. It's possible that if Empire goes on to 8 points, and then if Furia beat Empire 7-5, they still won't qualify. Okay, so there's a million different things. Basically, they need Damwon to do really badly, and they need Empire to do pretty badly, and then so by default they need to do Space. They need Space Station to do really well. So this is possible, but it's another one that's very, very unlikely. I think in terms of likelihood, I don't know which one's more likely, for this one to happen or for the Sonics to make it. They're both really unlikely. I'd say the most likely of the underdog stories to occur is the Dark Zero one, and that's just based on the points, not necessarily based on even the skill of the teams involved. But okay, so we'll see what happens there. But it's looking very unlikely for Furia, so it's looking okay for my predictions, I guess, because I predicted Space Station and Empire, and it's still possible for both of them to make it, but probably it's Damwon and Space Station. But there's still no reason to believe that it's exceedingly unlikely that Empire won't make it, because again, only 2 points below either of these teams, and they only have to surpass one of them to make it, and you know, not let Furia also pass them. So right, is there anything else I want to mention? The Space Station game had me sweating a little bit, because Space Station went up, I think, like 6-2. They took a 5-1 half, and then I think they lost a round, then won a round, so 6-2. But then Furia brought it all the way to 6-5. So one round either for Furia to lose the game in regulation or for them to push overtime. And thank God Space Station won it there, because if they'd gone overtime, the points would be much tighter. Of course, assuming Space Station won, I guess it'd be 7 points for Space Station, 3 for Furia, or it could be 4 for Furia if they won, 6 for Space Station. Yeah, it could be a whole lot of scenarios. Space Station, I guess they're looking okay in the regard that they're tied on points at the top of their group, but I expected them to play a little bit better than this, a little bit more, win more expediently, not let the pressure get to them. I don't know why their games are going so long. I guess it's just tied affairs. It is the group of death after all. Damwon is quite possibly the best team in APAC at the major, and well, I don't think I'd call Furia or Empire the best team from their regions at the major, but I mean, they're certainly competitive. Okay, and do I need to mention anything about these other games? Probably not. I guess I will mention the fact that Empire 7-2 Damwon, which is quite impressive, considering that the other game was a 7-3 in the favor of Damwon, so they flipped the script and beat them even harder. So I guess Empire does have the head-to-head over Damwon, so that might come into play. Empire, you know, if there's some overtimes gone into or something, say like Empire goes to overtime against one of the, I don't know, Space Station or something, then they'll be on 8 points, and then Damwon. Okay, so a lot of scenarios once again, but I guess that's all I really need to talk about, right? I think I covered it all. So we have a nice little mix of a couple things being confirmed on the second day, and then also a lot of, you know, slim possibilities for the last day, but things to still root for in each group, and then a lot of good games still coming down the pipeline. So, right, with all of that being said, I will catch you in the next video.